So welcome to tonight's class. We'll be looking at window function part 2. So yesterday we did row number, rank, dense rank. So tonight we'll be looking at which one? Using aggregate functions as windows function like sum or average. So just look at this. So once again, what is happening? Sum into bracket. I have this code. Select employee ID, department ID, salary, sum into bracket average over partition by department ID, alias average. So we are trying to explain this. What is happening? Sum into bracket over adds up all salaries within each employment and within each department, returns the same total for every row in that department. Average salary over calculates the average within each department, returns the same average for every row in that department. Partition by department ID groups row by department before calculating sum stroke average. There's a key difference from regular aggregates. Normal sum or average collapse multiple rows into one row per group. Windows sum or average keeps all rows, just add a calculated column showing the aggregate. So let's look at this. There's just something about Windows function. Like I said, it's a bit similar to what? It's a bit similar to group by. It's a bit similar to group by. Okay, let me take this one out for now. Let me put it somewhere here. So you say select employee ID, department ID, salary, sum into bracket, salary. When you are using Windows function, you start with over. The over, okay, let me write it myself. Let me write it here. Say select employee ID, department ID, comma, you now say sum to bracket, salary, close the bracket. Then when you are making use of Windows function, you call the over this partition by, just like you saying group by, partition by, we are going to partition it by department ID. Close it. You give it alias as total department salary. Then from employees underscore win 2. So that's the table name. I think that's correct. So let's run this. So this is what I have. Employee ID, department ID. Okay, let me do something. Let me say select. Let's not waste time. So let's copy this and paste here. So what is happening here? We are doing normal group by. We are doing normal group by. So department ID, we have 1 and 2 as department ID. If you look at the table, you can see employees. Some people have department ID of 1 and 2. It's just like gender. Some people are female and some are male. So if you are using group by will now group it into male and female. So the department ID now is just to group it to 1 and 2, like I did here, 1 and 2. Then it will just sum all the salary for those that have department ID 1 and also sum it for those that have department ID 2, which is what we are having here. I think this should be 155,000 for those that have department ID 1 and 125,000 for those that have department ID 2. I have a column like gender. I would have actually used that column. So that's what group by does, which we've known it already. So now we are using, this is the same thing we are doing with Windows function. So how does Windows function operate? If I run the Windows function, what happens is it will create a new column. Please mute your mic if you, except you want to ask question, mute your mic. Even if you have question, I'll give time for that. So Windows function is going to create a new column. You can see now, it will now, this like group by department ID, which is what we did here. But here we are saying partition by department ID, we use partition. So now it's going to create a new column for department ID 1, 1, and 1. It's returning the average. Like the average, the sum, the total department salary is 155,000. So it's returning it for every row that has that department ID 1. The one for 2 is returning 125,000 for every row that has that department ID. So that is how Windows function work. Unlike group by is just bringing two rows, just group. So I now return the sum for this one and sum for that one. This particular table is just that I don't have the code I used to create that table. It is a code. Okay, this is it. Okay. Let me check something. I'm trying to readjust this. I'm trying to readjust this so that I can further explain that. Looks like something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Sometimes this thing will just make someone feel like something is wrong. So I've added a new column known as gender to this table. So let's try to do something with this. I'm going to copy this. Okay, let me create a new query tab. I'll paste this. So let me change this one to gender. Let's salary. Is it because of the table I dropped? That shouldn't be the issue. Okay. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with that one. Okay, okay, okay,
The
okay,
comma
okay,
after
okay.
the salary.
It's not that one. Okay, so that time I copied the wrong block of code. So this is the right one. So this is what we are. You can see now I'm trying to partition by gender. I'm using partition by gender, unlike the first time we did using department ID. You can see now. So if we use our normal group by, if we use our normal group by, look at how our normal group by will work. You can see how our normal group by works. You can see how the normal group by works. Then you see how the Windows function works. You see how Windows function works. So, okay, let me do something. So I can have them side by side. This is how normal group by works. We just group it by female and male. Then you sum everything. But look at how Windows function works. You will just create a new column. Then each group will have the sum. Like each record will have the sum, the total department salary. Same for this one, same for this one, same for male. So that is how Windows function and group by operates. And this Windows function, like I say, in a real world settings, there's how you will need to look something this way. You will need to look at things this way, not just like this. You need to look at it this way. It happens a lot in healthcare. Yeah. So there are situations that you need to look at. So, and the only thing that can make this possible is Windows function, unlike group by. So that is it about them. So let's come up. I'll look at this. Let me run this. So this is me using row number, rank, and average department. So let's look at the code once again. So select employee ID, first name, last name, department, row number over partition by department ID, order by salary descending. You should know what order by does. Now as alias row number and row num rank over partition by just the same thing. Then average. I think let me add this one. Let me add dense rank. Dense rank. This you really need to take time and look at this. It can be very, very confusing. So yesterday we explained how row number works, rank works, dense work, and now we are making use of aggregate function. Here I'm using average. I can use sum too. I'm just using average. So now let me see. So I now have almost everything here: row number, rank, dense, average, sum. I now have all of them in one question, in one solution. So now we are partitioning by department ID. Take note. So now 1 1 1 1. Row number will count 1 2 3 4. Then when we get to department ID of 2, it will start again 1 2 3. The one of 3 will start 1 2 3. Rank 1 2 3 4. So you know what rank does. We explained yesterday that when we have a tie, row number will just count. We partition by. I feel like all of you guys should understand this department ID I'm using. I feel like I wish I had gender in this column. I feel like gender would have been easier to follow along, but just see the department ID. We have 1 2 3, just like you group things. So first we start with 1 1 1 1. Those that have department ID 1. Look at the row number 1 2 3 4. We go to 2. You will start counting again 1 2 3. If it's up to 10, it will keep counting like that. We go to 3, it start counting. We also look at the salary. I think let me do something. Let me change it. position of the salary. Okay, good. So that the salary will be here. So we are saying salary descending, meaning that it's starting from the max salary. If you look at department ID 1, starting from 60,000, 50,000, 48,000, 45,000. When we get to 2, starting with 70,000, the other person too is earning 70,000. So that is a tie. Then it now goes to 6,500. It goes to department ID 3, starting with 8,000, 80,000, 75,000, 72,000. So now what row number does is we just count 1, 2, 3, 4, continue again. But what rank does is, like I explained, 1, 2, 3, 4. Where we have tie, rank will give, instead of 1, 2, you will say 1, 1. And now start with 3. You now go 1, 2, 3. What dense rank does is 1, 2, 3, 4. Where we have tie, like rank, it will give 1, 1. Then the next one, instead of, what rank does is that rank is counting by position, while dense counts numerically. If there is a tie, it will say 1, 1. Then it now start with the next number. It's counting numerically, dense rank. So we'll start with 2. Then it will start 1, 2, 3. So this guy now is counting by position rank. You say 1. This guy is supposed to be 2. But since there is a tie, it will still give them 1, 2. So this guy now is supposed to be 3. So the person will maintain his 3. So that is how rank works. Know the average. You can see now average for each row. Like each ID will carry the same average, just like that. Same with sum. So that is how window function works. That is how Windows function works. Honestly, you need this in your real world settings. As a data analyst, you need window function. Popularly used in medical care and medical sector, health sector. You need it when you want to start seeing things this way. It is used in school too for grading. It is used to. So there are many scenarios you are going to need it as an analyst. So it's more flexible, more advanced than group by. If someone wants to operate as, especially when we are using the aggregate function, it wants to operate like group by, but it's more advanced and more flexible than group by. So any question? I know the Windows function is a bit confusing. Just have to go through the videos, try to create a table, use a very simple table like I normally use, and try to understand the logic, get the concepts. That is just use a very simple table, get the concept. And when you get comfortable, I would also like you to look at lead and lag. But first, treat those ones we've done. That is a major thing. But when you get comfortable, you can look at how lead and lag works. But first, focus. That's why I don't want to do it. I want to give you too much information. But those are the major ones you will probably use. The major ones you will use. So, but when you get comfortable, practice the row number, understand its rank, dense rank, using of aggregate functions with Windows function. So using of aggregate with Windows function. So get used to them, know them very well. So you can look at lag and lead and lag. It's nothing much. just to briefly explain it so that when you look at it, you can understand it. Here we have salary. This is lack and this is lead, just like previous and next. So 4,000 previous is null, next is 5,000. 4,000, what am I saying? 45,000 previous is null, next is 50,000. Then we now have 45,000. So it's just like adding 5 to it. So depending on what you are adding, depending on your query, but I don't want to go into this, it might confuse you. But the concept is just the previous of 45,000, there's no previous, the next is 50,000, is adding with 5,000 depending on what you are looking at. So now we have 50,000. So you now remove the previous was 45,000, return it, then you add another one, you have 55,000. So the previous is 50,000, then you add, so that is how it works. I don't really want to explain this much, but that is how the concept is, just like next and previous. So when you get comfortable with what you've done so far, I'm just telling you so that you know that there's something like that which you should look at, lack and lead. But first, get comfortable with what you've done so far before you now look at that one. By then, you would have done AI. Just use AI and try to look at how they works. Any question? I know the Windows function. I've tried my best to explain it, break it down as simple as I can, using the simplest table ever, just for you to get the concept. The whole thing here, once you just understand the concept, then you can move to a table with rows of 10,000, 50,000, the case may be. But first, when you are learning SQL, use the very simple table, max of 5 rows, max of 10 rows, preferably sometimes 5. Just get how the concept works. Once you understand the concept, if you like, use table that has records of 1 million, you already understand how the concept works. So that is how it is. Any question? So feel like in the absence of question, I will stop recording. So this is the end of SQL. Like I said, look at CTEs too. When you get comfortable with all the topics we've done so far, look at CTE, common table expression. It's one of the popular topic in SQL. It's a bit, that's why I say just get comfortable with all this one, then now look at it over time. But in this class, I don't know, I might still take you guys there and we look at it. So but on your own, look at it first. So when we get there, if I had to go back, if I had to look at it as we are going forward, I want to know that you have already looked at it. But first, get comfortable with all the topics we've done so far. If you go in an interview and you are able to answer all the questions we've done, like you are able to answer questions coming from all the topics we've done, only CT will not fail you. So, but at least it's very bad that you are trying to jump. You don't even understand the one you've been taught. Very bad. Imagine you have 10 questions and 9, let's say 8 questions come from topic you've treated, you've done in your SQL lesson. Since you did not pay attention to know them very well, you are just jumping on topics. You just hear this one, you run to that one, something that's not even important. At the end of the day, you were not even able to answer the questions that comes from that 8 topics you've been taught very well. You lose. But out of the 10 questions, you know that these 8 topics, I've done it, and you answer them perfectly. The 2 will not fail you. So, and these are the major topics you will see in SQL, everything we've done. I just recommend the CT. It comes at times in a very advanced SQL interview. It comes. So just look at it when you get comfortable with this one. So that's all, guys. Now on this note, we say goodbye to SQL. Cheers.